I think you're muted now.
Okay, so now it actually looks like we are on Facebook Live. Originally it was, I looked up and it wasn't before, but now we are. So we'll go ahead and get started. Sorry about that. So thank you, Michaela, for participating in our employer spotlight with the U.S. Forest Service. If you just want to start and again, briefly introduce yourself and give a brief overview of your current role. Sorry about the technical issues.
Yeah, sure thing. So my name is Michaela Hall. I'm a recruiter with the U.S. Forest Service. I work in our southern region. As a recruiter, I'm responsible for connecting with colleges and other organizations that help recruit young people who are interested in natural resources. As part of that role, I'm providing information about the opportunities that we have available. I'm helping students to kind of navigate the federal hiring process and also providing information on students about what type of jobs are available and what happens after, they become employed with the Forest Service.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us. The next question is for you to just tell us a little bit about the U.S. Forest Service. So what, your organization does and where the primary locations are.
Sure. All right. So the U.S. Forest Service, we're a land management agency. We were founded in 1905 by Theodore Roosevelt. Our first chief was Gifford Pinchot. And initially, when we were established to provide quality water and timber for the nation's benefit. And over time, that mission has expanded to provide the public with multiple uses of renewable resources, including water, forage, wildlife, wood, and recreation. And our mission is to sustain the health, diversity, and productivity of the nation's forests and grasslands to meet the needs of present and future generations. And so, as part of that mission, there are five major mission areas. You have your national forest systems, and I think when people think about the Forest Service, they think about the work of the National Forest System. The mission of this area is to protect and manage natural resources on our National Forest System lands. And that is the 193 acres of forest and grasslands that our agency manages. Next, we have our state and private forestry area. State and private is providing assistance to state, local, tribal governments, forest industries, and private landowners. And so we understand that, we have to practice shared stewardship. We have we all own land, whether it's federal land, state land, local land. And what we understand is that those kind of man-imposed boundaries, the natural disasters such as fire or tree disease or insect disease, those do not care about those boundaries. And so state and private kind of understands that we need to work across those boundaries with other landowners to ensure that we're assisting them and helping them manage their natural resources. And international programs takes it a step further, and they're assisting with formulating policy and coordinating U.S. support for management of the world's forest resources. And we also have a research and development arm, and they're conducting research on all aspects of forestry, such as forestry rangeland management and forest resource utilization. This research is public, and so anyone who wants access to it can have it. And then holding all of that together is our business operations mission area. And there you'll find positions such as human resources, information technology specialists. It's all that day-to-day kind of business work that needs to happen to keep us rolling. So making sure that, we have clean buildings, supplies, hiring people, training people, and things like that. So the Forest Service is headquartered in Washington, D.C., and we have 9 regional offices. Our regional offices are located in Missoula, Montana, Golden, Colorado, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Ogden, Utah, Vallejo, California, Portland, Oregon, Atlanta, Georgia, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Juneau, Alaska. And we have units scattered all across the country, spread from Alaska to Puerto Rico. And so I like to think that there is a place for everyone in the Forest Service.
Awesome. Thank you for that overview. It sounds like there's a lot going on at the U.S. Forest Service and lots of opportunities. So that's a good segue for the next question, which is just what kind of jobs and internship opportunities do you all currently have open?
So we hire students and recent graduates through two main programs. The first program is our Resource Assistance Program, and this is a really unique program in that for those who have graduated with a 2 or 4 year degree, they're able to start an internship with the agency. This internship is usually a 6-month internship where students can work in various positions. I think the great thing about this particular program is once students have completed the internship, they gain a direct hire certificate, and that certificate is good for 2 years. Now, the direct hire authority allows that recent graduate to be able to convert into a permanent position right out of their internship. And the position doesn't have to be the position that the recent graduate interned into. It can be for any position for which they're qualified for anywhere in the Forest Service. And so it's a really good deal for students who are interested in having a short-term internship, kind of testing the waters, seeing if the agency is the place they want to be, and if so, converting into a permanent position. So the next program is our Pathways program, and this is a federal internship and recent graduate program. And I'll clarify what I mean by recent graduate when I'm speaking about Pathways. A recent graduate is anyone who is 9 months out from graduation up until 2 years after graduation. So the program gives recent graduates a good chunk of time to kind of apply and find the perfect job for them. And so as part of the Pathways program, the internships, they're paid internships that usually take place over the summer. We have a variety of different types of jobs, and that's from data analysts to foresters to wildlife biologist internships. Students can convert from that internship into a permanent position after they've completed 640 hours and they've completed their degree program. When it comes to the recent graduate side of Pathways, these are entry-level positions and they're usually multi-graded positions, which means that students come in as a starting in the position at the basic entry level, and then each year that they're doing great at their job and meeting their performance standards, then they get promotions. And so it's a great way for someone to come in and learn as they grow with the agency. And for those positions, we have several different hiring events throughout the year where we're bringing on hundreds of students at once to fill those vacancies.
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit about how to apply to those opportunities?
Yeah, sure thing. So with the Pathways program for the internships and recent graduate entry-level positions, those jobs are located on usajobs.gov. And so that's the site where we post the most of our positions for students and recent graduates. USA Jobs offers a filter. And so if students go to USA Jobs and they just want to see positions that are available to students or recent graduates, there is a filter for that. And I highly suggest that students apply for those positions. For the Resource Assistance Program, those positions are advertised on our partner sites. We use various partners to help us recruit for positions. And this year, our partners include Mobilize Green, the Greening Youth Foundation, the Hispanic Access Foundation, and the Core Network.
Okay, so that application process on USA jobs.gov, can you speak a little bit about maybe what would need to be included in that application and maybe how far in advance students might need to apply for these opportunities?
Definitely. So most of the positions that will be included in our Pathways hiring events, many of them will require a certain level of education. And so included in the application package should be a resume and a federal resume, which will be much more detailed and descriptive than that typical 1 to 2 page resume. Also, transcripts are really important. because that's how HR is going to determine if you're qualified for the position. And so those are the two main items that students should prepare to apply for the Pathways positions.
And the timeline for that?
And so with the timeline, it's really interesting how we have it set up. So we have several hiring events throughout the year. The first hiring event will kick off in September, and then the next one will be in October and November. And so then we'll take a break until next year, and then hire some more in the spring. But usually for those folks who are applying in between September and November, they're going to hear back in January. And so, and that's for internships and recent graduate positions that are set to start in May. And so there is a lengthy process that we go through. And so students who have applied, I'm hoping that that kind of demystifies the timeline so that they'll know that they're on the right track. You know, there's nothing that they need to do. It just takes a bit of time to go through all of the applications.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So our next question is just what kinds of experiences make candidates a good fit? So is there anything specific that you all look for on a resume that would make a candidate stand out?
Yeah, sure. So the Forest Service has very specific qualifications that's guided by the Office of Personnel Management, and that kind of dictates to us what's required for a person to qualify for a position. And so whether or not you will qualify for a position is going to be outlined in that USA Jobs job announcement. And so the challenge is not only to show that you're qualified, but to show that you are best qualified. And so a few ways that I would suggest to do that is to include detailed descriptions on your resume. So as I mentioned, like with the federal resumes, they're typically much longer than that one pager because they have to include enough information to kind of show the full depth of your knowledge, skills, and accomplishments. And so we also like to see supervisory and reference information right on the resume. And so for students who are interested in kind of learning more about that, I can offer a resume guide that kind of outlines the things to consider as you're creating a federal resume. Participation in student organizations, those that are relevant to your career path or those that provide leadership opportunities are a huge plus, especially when students don't have much work experience. We are taking a look to see what organizations you're a part of and how you're spending your time outside of class. Another one is volunteer work. For us, volunteer work is just as valuable as paid experience. For our agency review process, if you've gained relevant volunteer experience, it should be included on the resume with that same level of detail as you would a paid experience. And I guess finally, I'll say that sometimes with student resumes, the level of experience can be really similar from resume to resume. And so to stand out, I would suggest focusing on students ensuring that they select the best people to act as references and that they get plenty of interview practice because we are required to check references and there will be an interview as part of this process. And so references and interviews are combined with the applicant's resume and those supporting documents like transcripts to form a complete overview of the candidate. And so if you have a strong showing across all of those areas, that's a great way to stand out.
Thank you. Thank you for that advice for our students. And since you brought up the interview process, do you want to talk a little briefly, maybe how that process would work for a student if they make it to that part of the application process?
Yeah, sure thing. And so as I mentioned with our hiring events, we're hiring a lot of students at once. And so our interviews are by the phone. Students usually get 30 minutes to answer about 8 questions. Everyone gets the same questions so that you know it's a fair and consistent process. The interviewers are usually folks spread across the agency, and they're more than likely not going to be the person that makes the final hiring decision. Those interviewers are going to be taking notes about what's said during that interview, and they're going to provide those interview notes to that hiring manager. one of the final questions on the interview allows applicants to offer more information. It's one of those questions like, is there anything else you want to add? I would suggest that students add something there. Give your final pitch, ask a few questions, just show more interest and engagement, and use all of the opportunities you have to sell yourself.
Awesome. That's great advice for students. So moving on to our next question, can you tell us a little bit about the company culture and why you like working for the U.S. Forest Service?
So I believe the Forest Service has a great culture, and it's important for me as a recruiter to be able to say that and really mean it. Recently, our chief, who is our lead position, she launched a This Is Who We Are guide, and it offers all employees an overview and guide to showcase our purpose, our values, and the way that we want to show up as an agency. And so, 5 points that were made in that document is that we believe in service as the first one, and that's service to each other, to the American people, and to the planet. The next one is interdependence, and that's interdependence of all things. So, people and nature, communities and colleagues, the past, present, and future. We have believe in conservation, but we also believe in protection when necessary, preservation when appropriate, restoration when needed, and wise management of our lands for multiple use and enjoyment. Of course, diversity of people and cultures, perspectives and ideas, experiences and ecosystems, and finally, safety. And that's a focus on safety in every way, physical, psychological, and social. And so I really love that document. I think it gives a clear understanding of who we are and how we want to serve. And personally, my experience has been amazing so far. One of the things I want to focus on, I guess, is just the level of opportunities I've had within the agency to just participate in various initiatives, from creating training programs for kindergartners, to collecting food for the hungry in our local area. There's just been consistent training and collaborative activities that have allowed me to learn and grow beyond, what I was hired to do. Something else that has really been impactful for me is that I've been able to travel to a lot of really beautiful places that I never would have decided to go to myself, like Whitefish, Montana, or Custer, South Dakota, because I didn't grow up camping and fishing and hiking. So joining the Forest Service opened my eyes to outdoor recreation and the joys of getting outdoors. And I actually have a camping trip planned in a few weeks to Chickahominy Riverfront Park. It's not too far from home, and it's just a great way to get away while still trying to maintain that social distance.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Great that they provide all of those travel opportunities and even opportunities within the company to, get a range of skills and experience.
Yeah, our agency is kind of, spread out so far, and just the different landscapes have their own personalities, and there's so much variety. So when you have opportunities to get out and travel and train in new places, I've always wanted to take advantage of those. And I think another important part of that is just the amazing, cool people that I've met working for the Forest Service. There have been people who live their lives totally different than mine, and it just opens my eyes to how unique our agency and its employees are.
That's great. So our next question is, what advice do you have for students who are job searching or internship searching during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Okay. So I think one of the first things, I know that I've heard that opportunities have been limited and some opportunities have totally disappeared for students. And I think a first step could be just making sure that searching for positions is easier for students. One of the ways that I would do that is setting up alerts across your favorite job sites like USA Jobs. They do have an alert feature so that you can have jobs sent directly to your inbox, so you're not having to go looking at different websites consistently to find these positions. I think by creating those alerts that students are gaining back valuable time that would be spent searching for jobs, and also the alerts come as soon as the job opens. I know that in USA Jobs. So you're not having to prepare at the last minute. And just a point about that, on USA Jobs, when we release our positions, it's really ideal to get those jobs right away as soon as they open for several reasons. You don't want to wait until the last minute because technology issues can happen. And so I wouldn't want people to miss out on the opportunities. Another reason is because sometimes the jobs only accept a certain number of applicants. And so while the job may be open for a week, they may limit it to the first 100 people. Um, and sometimes jobs are only open for 5 days or so. So if you miss searching for a week or so, then you can lose a lot of opportunity. So having those alerts sent to you just prevents that stuff from happening. Some more advice I would say is to use recruiter networks. So if you've attended any past University of Tennessee events or other like employer spotlight events, you may have contact information from company recruiters. So check back in with those recruiters. In the Forest Service, our Southern Region recruitment team, we offer several services to students and recent graduates. We also send job alerts for Forest Service positions, but we can also review resumes, help with interview practice, answer questions about USA Jobs and things like that. So check in with those recruiters, use your networks and see what opportunities they may have available. And finally, I think now is a really good time to go ahead and get prepared for the application process for when jobs start opening up again. So create or update that 1 to 2 page resume and your federal resume so they're both ready for the opportunity. Check in with your references, make sure that they're still the right folks to have as references, and update them on anything they may need to know to be able to share about you. And then also, I mentioned volunteer opportunities and how important they are. Look to create your own volunteer opportunities to gain experiences. That's one way that this time can be used. Take on other challenges so that you have more material to expand your resume.
Yeah, that's great advice, especially the volunteer opportunities and just with everything going on, creating that. And I loved the networking piece that you brought into that as well. So our one of our last few questions. Is a little bit more specific to UT, and so it's why are you all recruiting and hiring UT Vols? What do you like about recruiting our students?
Okay, well, that's an easy one. UT has great students, as you all know. In addition to that, the programs offered fit really well with what our agency is looking for. Some of our most popular positions that we hire for are those in forestry, civil engineering, and anthropology. And so, because those are high demand positions, we love working with schools that offer those programs. The university is also sandwiched between several national forests, including the Daniel Boone, Nantahala, Chattahoochee. Our Southern Region's Forest Inventory and Analysis Office is located right in Knoxville, and the UT alum works there. And so I think that says a lot about the programs, the caliber of the students, and that perfect location. I mean, I think that getting students from that college and having them kind of work in those different places is great for the Forest Service.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. So at this time, I just wanted to give you the opportunity, like if there's anything else you wanted to share with students who are maybe tuning in right now or going to be watching this later, is there anything else you'd like to share with them?
Yeah, sure thing. So, as a full-time recruiter, I have 8 hours Monday through Friday to work with you all, help you to navigate the USA Jobs hiring process, answer questions that you may have about creating that federal resume or searching for positions on USA Jobs. And so feel free to reach out to me. I'll provide the information that you need and kind of, track your progress. I love when I'm able to go through a hiring event and see a student's name listed, that I've worked with. It's a really fulfilling part of my job to see that success happen. And so feel free to reach out and contact me, and I look forward to working with you all.
Yeah. What is the best way for our students to contact you? Would you prefer them maybe connect with you on LinkedIn, or is there another avenue for that?
So LinkedIn works okay. Email is probably the best way to get into contact with me. And so, should I say my email, Alexis, or
Yeah,
share
you
it?
can
Okay.
do that. Yeah.
All right. And so my email is michaela.hall, and you can see the spelling, Michaela dot Hall, Hall, and that's at USDA.gov.
Yeah, awesome. And I can also, if students cannot remember that, just look on our website or something like that, and we can connect you with Michaela. But thank you so much for joining us, Michaela, and participating in the Employer Spotlight. You provided a lot of great information for students, and I'm even excited to see some opportunities that are available to our UTK students. So thank you.
Thank you. This was great.
Yeah, awesome. Well, have a great rest of your day, everyone, and just try to enjoy the weather. Awesome. See
All
ya.
right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.